how do we avoid calling every bad Tuesday or every bad day like an electrolyte deficiency? Like, how do we know when we need a little more, when we need a little less? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, one of the things, the challenges that we have is that many people are very deficient just to start, like right out of the gate. And we're deficient because we eat foods that are much less nutrient dense than foods that our grandparents ate. To get
Mhm.
the same nutrition from an apple that your grandfather ate, you'd have to eat like 6 or 7 apples today. So you actually cannot eat enough volume, and I don't even care if you're eating the best organic food or even food out of your backyard garden. If you have not added minerals into your soil in some bioavailable format and you've been growing in that same organic soil for years, that soil is mineral depleted.
Hi, I'm Missy Macholka, the Menopause Midwife. I'm here to break down all the things about menopause and hormones that seem overly complicated, which is pretty much everything. With over 10 years of experience catching babies and 2 decades of intuitive massage therapy practice, I have spent the last few years deep diving into all things menopause to figure out why so many women are suffering and why there seems to be so much confusion about hormones and menopause. Calling on my midwifery experience and my desire to help women attain and maintain full autonomy, I will stay next to you during this life transition and help to explain the options as you step into your power and find optimal health.
Hello, my lovelies. Electrolytes have officially escaped the Gatorade bottle, and thank goodness for that. They are now in our water bottles, gym bags, saunas, carry-ons, and probably someone's bedside table. But do we all need them every day, or have we simply become very enthusiastic about expensive, salty water? Today, Caroline Allen is back for part 2 of our mineral conversation. We're breaking down what electrolytes actually do, when plain water is enough, who might need extra support, how electrolyze differs from microboost, and what to look for before buying yet another hydration product with very persuasive packaging. We're also talking about Beam's pet minerals and topical sprays because even our furry friends can benefit from minerals. Welcome back, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, Missy.
Thank you. It's great to have you back. And we're just going to dive in today about electrolytes and microboost. Let's start off with what electrolytes are and what do they do?
So, electrolytes are minerals, but they're minerals with a strong electrical charge. And what that means is when they are in your body, they support all of the electrical moving of energy and power around your body. So, all of your neurology, all of the biosynthesis in your body, all of the enzyme production, hormone production, like all of these things rely on minerals. And electrolytes are what we call macro minerals, which means you need a lot of them. They're the ones that primarily run your body. There are also, many, many other minerals, a total of 18 that your body needs, many in micro levels, and we call those micronutrients. So we have macronutrients, which are macro minerals, which are the electrolytes, and then we have micronutrients, which are all the other minerals that your body absolutely has to have. And there's some misunderstandings about electrolytes in general, so I love the opportunity to talk about them.
Yeah, I think that I didn't know that there were 18. That's really good to know. Can you talk to us about, because what we hear about all the time is a lot of salt. All the time, it's salty water, salty water. And I'm a big fan of a salty electrolyte for sure. When used correctly at the right times and the right dosing, what can you tell us about salty water versus maybe what Beam is providing out there?
Yeah. To understand it, first of all, I'm not against salt. Salt is great. Sodium is
Mhm.
one of the minerals of those 18 minerals. Sodium is one of the macro minerals that we use a lot of. So,
Mhm.
very important in the system. One of the things that we have to understand about minerals in general is that they never work in isolation. They all so the ratio of minerals, their mineral balance in your body across those 18 minerals is as important. It's as important as mineral levels. We've grown up with what I call the car mentality. I'm going to take my car down to the gas station. I'm going to fill up the tank for the gas. I'm going to check the oil. I'm going to fill up the window shield washer fluid. I'm maybe going to check the radiator. So I've got tanks and I'm going to just fill them up. And we've been kind of brought along thinking our body works that way based on what we call supplemental facts or nutritional facts that we see on the back of food packaging and supplement packaging. And it says the recommended daily allowance of magnesium is 1,000 milligrams a day, or the market recommended of zinc or chromium or selenium or all of those 18 minerals. And because we see that, we think, oh, I have a tank of 1,000 milligrams size of magnesium, and I need to fill that tank every day. And it's a complete misunderstanding. So, what we have to understand is that mineral balance and minerals work in these natural balances with one another. Magnesium, as an example, works in balance with calcium and phosphorus. Now, what are your bones made of? Calcium and phosphorus primarily. There's also some boron that's involved in bone production, but mainly calcium and phosphorus. So when you put a large quantity, a concentration of magnesium in your gut, which doesn't work like a car, but actually works a lot more like a forest. All those microorganisms, microbiota, all of the beneficial bacteria, all of the fungi, all of the microflora in your gut, they're all freshwater beings. In fact, your body's a lot like the earth, and your digestive tract is a lot like the rivers and lakes on the earth. That's a freshwater system, right? The rivers and lakes are freshwater.
Mhm.
Your bloodstream is like the ocean. So all the rivers and lakes on the earth run into the ocean, and the ocean is saline. That's because all of those nutrients from the rivers and lakes have run into that ocean. And your bloodstream is a recipient of the nutrients in the freshwater system of your digestive tract. So it is also saline, and it's very close to the salinity of the ocean. So do you see
Mhm.
how that beautiful these like as above, so below, your body works like the earth. Now, you would never take, a wheelbarrow full of salt and throw it in your freshwater pond and expect your pond to be healthy. Or let's say a forest, if I took a wheelbarrow of magnesium and put it on the floor of the forest, the forest would kind of freak out. The forest floor, the plants in that local area would go, oh my gosh, this is too much. We can't deal with this. They'd probably be burned. So that's what happens with plants. They actually burn. So when we think about our body as a natural ecosystem, rather than a car, a vehicle with inputs and outputs and tanks to fill, it changes everything. So this is the first kind of paradigm shift in thinking that we do when we think about how are we going to support our body, because we know we need a lot of electrolytes, minerals with a strong electrical charge, to carry all of the electrical current in our body and to
Mhm.
provide fuel for energy production in our body. So, how do we do it in a really good way? And that's where something like Beam Minerals electrolyze and microboost come in. Because what they do is rather than providing just 4 or 5 minerals in high concentrations, what they do is provide all of the minerals your body needs in the natural ratios that you need to receive them in. So you can take a lot of electrolytes without causing any concentration of minerals in your system and just boost the entire energy production across all your cellular function.
What I keep hearing you say over and over in really great analogies is balance, 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 and ratio is important, and dose is important, like we kind of talked about in the intro, and that you can take a bunch of electrolytes and not worry about having too much. I think With the salty electrolytes, which again, I say I love, and I love a complex magnesium supplement as well. But with the salty ones, I think sometimes they taste so good and we get kind of used to it. And then we take 1, 2, or 3 packets a day. And then it's really
Yeah.
throwing a lot of things out of balance. And so I like to talk to my clients about if you're gonna use the salty electrolytes, which I love, maybe you do a quarter of a packet. Maybe you do half a packet. Maybe you do a full packet on really sweaty days because we're losing a lot of sodium, particularly on those days. What do you think about that approach, Caroline?
I'm not against salt. Salt is absolutely useful, okay? What I do think is because people like flavored water, there's this whole thing. So, water is another thing we should talk about,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like the difference between hydrating yourself and irrigating. So, one of the unrecognized effects of using a lot of salt as an electrolyte replenishment tool is that when you put a concentration of salt into your gut, what happens is your body says, "This is a concentration, and I actually have to pull water from your body to eliminate the excess." And now
Mm,
you end up with frequent urination. And when used over time in athletes, the athletes that I talk with, and I work with trainers of elite athletes and several elite athletes, tennis pro, semi professional bikers, triathletes, and Olympic athlete, trainers of Olympic athletes, runners. And one of the things that they talk about is this frequent urination. So they're
mm,
drinking tons of water. They're continuing to feel dehydrated. They're using salt based electrolytes and they're urinating frequently. One of the things that happens is over time, using large quantities of salt based electrolytes will irritate the lining of your bladder and kidney. Because remember, it's a freshwater system. And
mm,
that salt is irritating over time to
mhm.
the tissues. So ultimately, you start having frequent urination. Now you feel dehydrated. So instead, what we talk about is doing true hydrate. And that's what I call irrigation. Think about,
Okay.
irrigating is putting a ton of water on a field and the water just runs off into
Mhm.
the outflow of the field. It doesn't actually absorb into the soil, into the roots. What you want is water that's going to actually absorb into your system. So, the beautiful thing about something like our electrolytes is it has two things. One, it has all those minerals you need in those natural ratios that you need them, but it also has a delivery system for the minerals into your cells, for those electrolytes directly into your cells. So, when you take a flavored salt-based electrolyte packet, whether it's a quarter of a packet or a full packet, when it goes into your gut, it has to be digested before it can be absorbed. And that digestion is being broken down all the way down to its ionic chemical components so it can be hit a receptor site on your gut and be absorbed. One molecule of magnesium has to be broken down all the way and then hit a magnesium receptor site and be absorbed. But fulvic works very differently. So it's got all of those minerals that you need. And
Mhm.
in electrolytes, it's completely ready for absorption. The minute you drink it, it requires no digestion at
Mm.
all. So when you drink it, it immediately starts absorbing through the lining of your mouth, your throat, your esophagus, because the molecule is so tiny relative to a cell, it can absorb through any tissue that it touches. So that's it's phenomenal. So the difference is you can provide a huge amount of concentrated minerals that just go through you and end up in the toilet, 90% of them, or you can use a small amount of something like electrolyze, and a huge percentage of it is ready for absorption immediately when you drink it.
Yeah, that makes such a big difference, and I'm thinking of the term cellular hydration. It
Yes.
seems like that's kind of what microboost and electrolytes are doing. They're just going straight in to those
And in fact,
cells.
we say they make water wetter. They
Yes.
actually make water
Mhm.
wetter.
So sometimes there's like fatigue. People talk about symptoms like fatigue, headaches, muscle cramps. They're kind of like the golden retrievers of symptoms or black labs. If you're in Missoula, you will like that if you are. It's like the the token dog of Missoula. They
No.
kinda show up everywhere. How do we avoid calling every bad Tuesday or every bad day, like an electrolyte deficiency? Like, how do we know when we need a little more, when we need a little less? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, one of the things, the challenges that we have is that many people are very deficient just to start, like right out of the gate. And we're deficient because we eat foods that are much less nutrient dense than foods that our grandparents ate. To get
Mhm.
the same nutrition from an apple that your grandfather ate, you'd have to eat like 6 or 7 apples today. So you actually cannot eat enough volume, and I don't even care if you're eating the best organic food or even food out of your backyard garden. If you have not added minerals into your soil in some bioavailable format and you've been growing in that same organic soil for years, that soil is mineral depleted. And then the foods
Mhm.
that you eat that are grown in that soil are mineral depleted. And so the problem becomes that just at the foundational level, we're all experiencing mineral deficiency, so much so that the World Health Organization coined a term for it, and they call it the hidden hunger. And the hidden
Mm.
hunger is that headache that you've got that you just don't know where it came from, or that sense of just fatigue, or that feeling in the afternoon that has you reaching for sugar, or a flavored
Yeah.
salt-based electrolyte packet in the afternoon because you just feel like, something's missing. And something is missing at a cellular level, and your cells are sending a neurological signal to your body saying, I need something. I need something. I need something. Something's missing. Go looking. I need something. I need something. And now what happens actually your cortisol levels, so your stress levels in your body raise. You find it harder to move into a parasympathetic, relaxed state. You don't sleep as soundly or you struggle to stay asleep. There are so many symptoms that are all connected, related to not having what your body needs at this most foundational level. So,
Mhm.
when you add to that now intense activity, whether it's just going on a big hike, or it's working in the yard in the hot sun, or it's being an athlete and hitting the gym 3, 4, or 5 times a week, you are sending your body into deeper and deeper levels of depletion, and you're going to experience a whole bunch of symptoms, and those symptoms are going to be dependent on where the weaknesses are in your system based on
Mhm.
your genetics, your epigenetics, your lifestyle, your eating style, all sorts of different factors.
Well, and I think that one thing that you talked about in our last episode that I really love the visual, and I think about it every time I take my beam,
Huh.
is raising the boats. Can you just hit that
Yeah.
really quick again? Because I think
Yeah.
it's worth repeating.
The thing that people need to understand is that minerals drive energy production in your body. The way I like to describe it is like a campfire. If you're going to build a campfire, you're going to need some heavy fuel, some wood, and you're also going to need some light fuel that's easy to light, that's like the tinder, and you're gonna need a match, something to turn that fuel into fire, energy, power. The match is the mitochondria, and those mitochondria are inside your cells. The heavy fuel is minerals. It's the minerals that you have to take in from the outside of your body. And the tinder is amino acids, many of which are in your body, many also that come from the outside. So these three factors are the central pieces of any energy generation in your body. Now, if you have all of the fuel you need to generate that energy, you can generate about 1,200 watts of electricity every day. That's like enough to plug in your blender, your toaster. I mean, it's a lot of energy. If you don't have enough, maybe you're only generating 800 watts, maybe 600, half the amount of energy that you actually need. Then your body has to pick and choose. And it says, well, hair, that's not really that important. And, this muscle in this leg, I just don't have enough energy. It's going to cramp. Or I'm going to make a crick in your neck when you wake up in the morning. That tense, like, I slept on it wrong. Or it's going to give you menstrual cramps when you have your menstruation. Or it's going to make it so you don't sleep at night because it's sending that neurological signal. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. So it's raising your cortisol levels. It's going to create anxiety, potentially depression, a sense of just overall fatigue because you literally cannot produce enough energy. And all of these different symptoms are what I call the boats on the sand. Now, if you start providing that full spectrum of 18 minerals that your body needs at a cellular level for your tiny little campfires that are inside your cells, like having the tide come in when you have all these boats, they're sitting on the sand and the tide comes in and suddenly all the boats lift up at the same time because the tide came in equally across the whole sand. And now suddenly you start sleeping a little better. You
Mhm.
wake up only 2 times a night instead of 4 or 5. You
Mhm.
start realizing the inflammation in your gut is like, wow, I'm not having that bloating anymore. Your hair starts to grow. You start noticing thicker eyebrows. Your skin starts to glow, and people go, hey, what's going on with you? You look really like you're feeling really good. And you
Mhm.
go through your period without having any cramping. You're having your hot flashes if you're going through perimenopause or menopause. So, what is actually happening is that your body has what it needs at the most foundational level, and minerals are the base foundation for cellular health in your body.
I think that's amazing, like, how you tie that all together, and I wanna touch on for a second, like, people come in to me, to other practitioners, and they say, "Gosh, I'm doing all the right things, and I'm still just it's just not quite right." I think it's really worth running through. I always kinda do the one bottle test with products in my office. I'm like, "Go through one round of this product and see how you feel. Let's see if it makes a difference." And I feel like Beam is a really great place. It's a great place to start, but most people who
Yeah.
I see and who are probably listening are already doing a lot of the right things. And so they're like, "Okay, but I know that one last thing is kinda missing." So I think that this is a really great way to say, is this lack of balance in cellular hydration, is that the last piece for me? Am I going to be able to raise all the boats this way and feel that much better, hit optimal health with something like the beam minerals? Because it just might be the right thing for raising all those boats. So,
It's one of the things people don't recognize is that because minerals are very humble and they're not sexy. So I've been saying that my job is to make minerals famous, particularly humic and fulvic, which are the
right.
mineral complexes, the
Hmm.
plant-based mineral complexes in B minerals. I want to make them famous because people don't recognize that every single biosynthesis process in your body requires minerals. They do not
Hmm.
happen without minerals. You know, as we age and our estrogen production changes, we need to provide more minerals because that
Hmm.
is the foundation for all of that biosynthesis process for thyroid, for cortisol, you know, so all of the three-legged stool, I call it,
Right.
for women's health as particularly related to longevity. So, if we can start with that foundation, the body can go through these transitions, whether it's menopause or growing a child or perimenopause and menopause, with many fewer intense symptoms. That's what we want. We want to be able to age gracefully. And this is really
Correct.
why I wrote a book. I wrote my book called The Mineral Reset because I wanted to help people who have that feeling you described, which is I'm doing all the right things and there's just something missing, you know? I mean, I
Hmm.
went through a huge bout of ill health. I mean, many, like 10 or 12 intense chronic symptoms that I was dealing with. And they all resolved over the space of 8 or 9 months, not days and weeks, but months.
Hmm.
But they all resolved naturally simply by providing these balanced ratios of very bioavailable minerals to my system consistently over time. Because
Hmm.
that's how ecosystems thrive with small incremental changes consistently over
Hmm.
time. It's like mothering.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, it sure is. While we were talking, I thought of something that I hadn't written down in my notes beforehand, but I wanted to ask you, have you ever gotten the eye twitch? Like where your
Oh,
eye is
yeah.
just twitching? I've always been told that that's a magnesium deficiency or something. Is that something that you see resolve for people when they're taking Beam?
It's funny. Years ago when we were first starting our company, and our company, when we first started it, we called it Keto Beam. And the
Mm.
reason we called it Keto Beam is it was the very beginning of the keto craze in the world. And we had learned from some keto coaches that when their clients used our minerals, they didn't get any keto flu. And so it made
Oh.
their clients very successful in achieving ketosis and making the transition from carb adapted to fat adapted in terms of energy production in their body without going through the keto flu. So he called it Keto Beam. We were trying to find people, influencers on Instagram, et cetera, who would actually try our product. And we contacted one of the largest keto people on Instagram, and we asked them if they would like to try our product. They were like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm sure they were being bombarded by lots of different products, but finally they said yes. It was a couple, and the husband had had an eye twitch for like a month that he could not get rid of, and it was driving him insane.
Mhm.
First time, the first time that he took our minerals, it went away.
Ooh.
And he was like, "Well, that's weird." And he took them for a few days and he said, "Well, I'm going to check." And he stopped taking them. Immediately, the eye twitch came back.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's anecdotal. It's absolutely true that eye twitches or any kind of involuntary muscle activity in your body, even sometimes digestive, the
Mhm.
intestine will have weird little feelings. These can be signs of mineral
Mhm.
deficiency. In the book, I have a great quiz at the very beginning of the book on page 3. There's a little QR code you can scan and you can go and take a mineral deficiency quiz. And it does two things. It's not a scientific test, but it will give you a sense of where you are on the whole, potential range of intense mineral depletion or just experiencing some light mineral deficiency. And what it does is it begins to help you realize what are the symptoms that you
Mm.
might not have recognized that you're experiencing that are actually symptoms of mineral deficiency. So that's a great tool for people.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful tool. And we will be linking to your book and your website so that people
No
can
worries.
get that for sure. Can we talk for a second about what people are drinking out of? And are there meaningful differences between plastic water bottles, like different types, stainless steel, and glass when it comes to leaching, reactivity, storage, all
Absolutely.
those kinds of things? I'd love to know your opinions because Beam
Yes,
currently comes in a plastic bottle, but I have a feeling there's
it
maybe a
does. Yep.
different level of plastic
A different
involved.
There is. So, first of all, one of the cool things about B Minerals Micro Boost product, that's our humic product, that's the one that makes my glass of water dark brown, is it actually removes nanoplastics from your system. If you want to link to some scientific studies that we have, so humic has been studied and found that it binds to and removes nanoplastics from aqueous solutions, so that means from water based systems. And inside your body is a water based system. So, incredibly helpful to have because nanoplastics are everywhere and they're finding they have many deleterious effects. So, we want to be removing those. So, specifically with our product, and it's really important. I mean, I always recommend never using a plastic bottle for water in general. And, if you're buying water, there are certain brands that use specific plastic for their water bottles. The problem is that most clear water bottles, even that you buy in the store, if the plastic is clear, it is not HDPE plastic. And HDPE plastic is the only plastic that is non reactive and does not
Oh,
put
okay.
these nanoplastics at least into your water or into the substance. So our bottles are HDPE plastic, and we have tested this ourselves. So what we did was we put our products into the bottles, we let it sit for a year, and we did a test. It's a certificate of analysis, tells you exactly what, like down to the parts per million of every substance that's in that liquid. And from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, nothing changed. And that means that no nanoplastics, because The big challenge with nanoplastics is they have heavy metals in them.
Mhm.
So this is one of the reasons that humic actually picks them up, because humic is like a magnet for heavy metals. It literally moves through your system and picks them up. So this is the cool thing about our current bottle. The challenge with any plastic is that when it breaks down, it actually creates that's when the nanoplastics are created that end up in, when you're breathing them in out in the world, you get them on packaging, all sorts of things. So what we're doing with our bottles, we're working with a company that has an amazing new kind of plastic that breaks down it. They actually put like some sort of enzyme into the plastic when it's liquid, when the plastic's in liquid form. And then when the bottle goes to decompose, that enzyme is activated with water when it's decomposing, and it completely decomposes that plastic all the way, like, so there are no nanoplastics. And
Oh, that's
that is
awesome.
really exciting because although our bottle will not leach any kind of nanoplastics into the product, we don't like the fact that we're still putting
Mhm.
plastics into the world. And it's very, very hard when you have a 32-ounce bottle of liquid to find any other options. Believe me, we were working with a company in England that was working on a different packaging option for us, but it doesn't look like their technology is far enough along.
That's exciting, and I'm really grateful that you guys are so conscientious about, start to finish with your
Yep.
product.
We've tested our water, the water that we use to confirm we are about to put a stamp on our thing that our product is completely free of PFAS, PFAS,
Oh,
but,
awesome.
so that's really exciting. It's glyphosate free, so non-GMO. So it's exciting because we specifically developed our company so that we would have complete view from the time that the original source material comes from the earth all the way until you receive it.
There are not a lot of companies out there that
Yeah.
have that kind of vision on their product from start to finish. One last thing about what you're
Yeah.
drinking out of. So I think what do you think about glass and stainless as options for your water bottle that you're like I have a stainless water bottle. I do keep unfortunately there's a little straw tube in there
Yeah,
and I
I
don't
know.
know what that straw tube is made of. I don't know if that's HDPE, but I'm going to check about it. It's kind of opaque, so I'm not sure.
I have that same problem, a great stainless steel bottle, and then I've got a plastic straw in it, and I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
what is that?" So, yeah, I mean, I do think glass and stainless are your best options for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, and please, 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 if you do plastic, do not leave it in the sun or in your
Mm,
hot car because I've
exactly.
heard and read that it just, like,
That's
really it accelerates that breakdown,
yeah.
and then it's going into
Well,
your body.
and here's the other really important thing to think about with water. So many of us are drinking filtered and distilled water. And you think it's really great. You get your reverse osmosis filter, it's under your sink in your house, so you just are always filling up from that reverse osmosis filtered water. The problem with water that's been filtered is that it's been had all of the minerals removed from it. When you put that water into your body, what does it do? It seeks out minerals and then goes straight through your body. So it actually is depleting you of minerals. So
Mm.
always, whenever I fill up a glass of water, this is my daily amount. So I've got both my microboost and electrolytes in here. That's my daily amount that I take. And I usually just kind of ask my body, how much do I need today? But every time I fill my glass of water with my reverse osmosis water, I put a splash of electrolytes in it. So it's never empty of
Mhm.
minerals. Empty
Mhm.
water is not a positive thing for you, filtered and
Right.
distilled water. You need spring water or remineralized filtered water.
Yeah. I know, I think I learned ages ago that reverse osmosis or distilled water is hungry water. You have to put your minerals back in it. That's interesting you say filtered water too, because I was under the impression that if you just filter like with a carbon filter, so you're just getting out your chlorine from your like municipal supply, are you feeling like that's also pulling your minerals out?
It still pulls a lot of minerals out. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay,
it's
that's
not
good to know.
100%, but it still pulls a lot of minerals out. And I don't
Okay.
recommend those, countertop Brita filters anyway. They're really not the best. They won't They won't do the full job you need.
Yeah, no, I've got a really nice under the counter situation, but it's not reverse osmosis. It's mostly it's pulling out any arsenic because there's arsenic in our supply and
Yeah.
then also chlorine. Yeah, so no, that's good to know. In the interest of time, let's hop
Yes.
forward and talk about our little furry friends because I put B minerals in my dog's food every day. I put a 1 squirt full. I have 2 Frenchies, they're 25 pounds each,
Oh, great.
and I just stick it right on top of their food, and they mow it down. The water situation is tricky because I have one that's a big drinker and one that's not a big drinker, so I
Yeah.
like to kinda
Mhm.
see how much I wanna know that they're both getting as much together, but my Frenchies are 9 and 10 years old, and I don't take them to the vet hardly ever, but when I do take them in, they're like, "They are so healthy." I think
Uh-huh.
part of it is that I feed them raw, but the other thing, I feed them raw hunted meat because we just use all our scrap from hunting and we
Right.
turn that into dog food. And I think it's that and that I give them bean minerals every day. They get it more
For sure.
consistently than anyone else in the family. So tell us
Yeah.
why should we give our dogs or our kitties minerals?
Well, just like you, your pets need minerals. Now, because you're doing raw and you're doing hunted meats and things like that, which is phenomenal, your dogs are getting that full spectrum of amino acids, particularly from that meat. And that meat is going to be, because they're foraging animals, they're going to have higher levels of minerals than pet food or even
Mhm.
things that are farmed or grown or created from farmed foods, cultivated
Mhm.
foods. So again, the same problem that we have. If you are buying your food at the pet store for your pets, I'm telling you they are severely deficient.
Mhm.
So you absolutely need to provide mineral support. And we've had so many people who have older pets, pets that were really lethargic, maybe not well, and they start giving them minerals and the dogs suddenly turn into young, like, teenagers. They're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what happened?" Like, it's
Mhm.
crazy, and their coats change, become really healthy, their, breaths, all of their teeth and their mouth health change, so it's a huge shift. The other thing that people who live in areas where glyphosate is used, and if you think you live in a city, so you might not be near where they're using glyphosate, they use it ubiquitously in all sorts of landscaping, and your dog, when you take it out, is right down where that glyphosate is sprayed. So
Mhm.
it's a hugely important thing to have humic in your dog's body because humic is one of the best remediators of glyphosate from cellular systems. So, fantastic tool to support the longevity of your pet and its ability to remove those toxic elements, not only glyphosate, but all sorts of other things that it encounters with its nose right next to the
Mhm.
ground. Okay. So
Yeah.
very, very important. So and it's great that you're putting the minerals on the food, and in fact, we recommend that when with our pet products, that you don't put the minerals into the water because you don't know how much they're gonna take, but if they
Mhm.
usually eat all of their food, so that
Mhm.
way they're getting all of their minerals every day. And then if you have a particularly active pet and you're in a hot summer and you're going out for a big run or playing Frisbee in the park, then it's a great thing again to fill up that water and put a splash of the pet
Mhm.
electrolytes into the water for them.
It's just such low-hanging fruit to me for your pets because we all know when you have to take them to the vet, there's no well, I guess there are some insurance companies now for taking care of pets, but most of us don't have pet insurance.
Mm.
And so
Right.
and our pets are like part of our families. It's so easy to just squirt this little squirt. It comes in a very convenient little squirt bottle, and you just suck it up and whatever. There's a nice little card that shows you like the pounds of your animal and like how many squirts you need to do. I think it's very reasonably priced, low cost maintenance for your dog. So if you're buying your food at the pet store, and they're doing kibble, like, no problem, but, like, throw this in on top of it and just give them that extra advantage, I think.
Yeah, we had a really, really cool thing that helps pet owners understand it. We had a zoologist, she's actually from England, and she took our minerals and she put down for every animal in the zoo every animal, every insect, every reptile. She put down a bowl or provided water, plain water, and water with minerals, and she put them with our minerals in it, side by side, and every single animal, reptile, insect drank the water with the minerals in it.
Wow.
They
They
selected
just
the
knew.
water with the minerals, and so I always say for people who have dogs, it's a great test to do. Take them on a long walk and then put down a thing of plain water and a thing with the minerals and see which one they choose.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's
Kinda
like
cool.
home science project. I
It's
love
kind of
it.
fun.
I wanna jump into your sprays because I
Yeah,
love the sprays. I have the Lights handy. They
uh-huh,
come in just
yeah.
a very simple little spray bottle, and this is what I like to do, like, all day long. I love to just spray myself with them, and I spray in the air just above my clients just as I'm leaving the massage room
It's
when they're
great.
finished, just to
Fun.
kind of finish them off. Tell us about Lights and your other there's a couple in the line. Are there
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, so
3? Okay.
Respiralights is about opening your airways, and it's got some eucalyptus. It's a proprietary blend of essential oils. So what we did was we took our fulvic, and fulvic is that delivery system for minerals into cells, and we added essential oils to it. And it's a small amount of essential oils really meant to work with your olfactory system, your olfactory, meaning your
Mhm.
sniffer. Because when you smell certain things, it actually triggers a release of specific neurotransmitters in your body. These sprays are short acting, meaning they shift the neurotransmitter wash in the body very quickly within 5 to 7 seconds, but it's not long acting. But something like Happy Lights is great if you experience anxiety, depression, or panic, because
Mhm.
it will break the neurotransmitter wash that's creating that physical, what feels like a physical energetic experience in your body.
It's wonderful.
Great. Thank you
So
so much, Missy.
thank you so much for being here today. Again, you're so wonderful to come a second time and really break down the electrolytes with us. And just so you know, you can purchase Beam Minerals and help support the Menopause Midwife show by using our code, the Menopause Midwife, just all spelled out, at checkout for 20% off. So you get a discount, we get a little benefit, and so it helps everybody. And my lovelies, thank you so much for joining us today as we got a little smarter about our water, our electrolytes, and the minerals quietly keeping the whole operation running. Please send this episode to that one friend who says she doesn't like water, as though water has personally offended her. Maybe this episode will help, and maybe she'll continue surviving exclusively on iced coffee. But either way, we tried. So, if you enjoyed the conversation, please share it and leave a rating or review if you feel so moved. It truly helps more people to find our show. Take care of yourselves and be well.
Thank you for joining me here today on the Menopause Midwife. If you'd like more information or to work with me, feel free to check out my website and book a wellness consultation at ohm406.com. Be well.